Alright, here's an example of some of the custom things you can do. This is the top of the ladder. The actual ladder itself comes up this way into this particular turnout, and then from here over it goes into the diesel service area. So what I decided to do was, from this turnout, basically made the stock rail and these point rails continuous, because the next diesel service area turnout will fit roughly in here. So it's going to sit somewhere like that. So that way it's a continuous piece of rail right out to the next turnout. This particular turnout, again, one thing you can do with this, so this is going to have to be cut short because it's kind of tight. So if I just lay that in there, that's roughly where that sits. And you can see I already cut out some of the ties there, because the other turnout here, YW4, it comes into YW5. You can see that's marked as well as to where that's going to be cut, how well that shows up. So basically 2 ties past the PCB board ties are going to stay, and then the rest will be cut as it fits in to that turnout. And then I'm just going to sit that there, and then this becomes one of the yard tracks, and this is the upper yard track, and then that runs over the diesel service area, and this continues down as the yard ladder. So a little bit of fancy cutting required here, but it makes it pretty nice with the fast track switches. You can just kind of mark things and cut them. We'll see how it all fits together, because the ties are, you see the orientation of the ties is a little bit different. You know, see the ones coming off the turnout. This turnout are running this way, and then this one's going this way. So I got to go fun, kind of muddle things around a little bit in there. But that's what I decided to do. And then I use the fixture itself to hold this completed turnout. Pardon my hand there. So this turnout's complete. It won't sit perfectly in, because once you solder the other point in, it won't fit perfectly in, but it's okay for alignment. So that's all lined up, and then I'll go ahead and solder these into this fixture. This is one of the straight main line fixtures I bought, and the ties are there. And then when I'm all done, I'll take this particular and solder it right there, and that will fit right past the end of this. Can you see? That gives me a little bit more stability. So that one will go right there, which gives you a little bit of stability, because the one thing I worry about with these is when you leave it like this, once you cut the gap here, pardon my big fat finger, maybe point better with this, once you cut the gap there, the only thing supporting whatever rail you have out here is just that particular solder joint. So just to add a little bit of stability, I like to, if I can, solder a PCB board tie out here, just so that rail supported, because if you would hit it or something like that, you probably would sprang it out of there. And then I also try to get them glued into the fixtures as soon as possible, because that obviously gives us some more support. So just a quick little bit there, and on how that's going to work out, going from the top of that ladder into the diesel service area. Alright, this just shows how I soldered in this one tie out of the fixture into the quick sticks, because this tie is actually the same height as these ties. Not as these. This is really hard to see here probably, but these are the PCB board ties for the turnouts. These here, they're slightly smaller in heights. This is the actual, a bunch of quick sticks that I cut off for another turnout. I don't know if you can see how they're just slightly smaller. Not sure that's going to show, but their main line ties are the same height. So this way it keeps it even going across the end of the sticks there. So actually, in effect, these ties kind of float slightly when they're installed into this and put on the layout. So that shows that. So that is done. So that's all been soldered together. Now I have a nice longer piece there that I can, again, that's going to go right over to the the first turnout in the engine house diesel service area over to switch DS1. So that's now all one continuous piece of rail with the stock rail and that point rail. Might be hard to see, sorry about that. All continuous out there. So, all right. So now just to cut the gaps there around the frog and onto more switches or turnouts. So there you go. All right, here it is with the plyo bond. Probably can't really see it, but there's the little pieces that I got for in between the PCB ties on the extension. Just letting the liquid there evaporate. Then we'll get them together, bond them with the soldering iron, and set them under some weight. So I'll show you that when we're done. All right, there it is. Got the plyo bond on, and I went across it with the soldering iron. So now we're just going to get it under some weight and let it dry overnight. Okay, there it is, weighted up. We're sitting there. I'm going to let it sit overnight. There's another turnout behind it. It's also got some weights on it. So there it is. Next we'll see it when it's installed. Alright, so this shows it installed on the layout. This is kind of our drone view as I fly over the layout. So again, there it is, and then basically, you know, normally here's the one I added. The turnout would end about there, but I extended it out. In this case, I just went really to the insulated gap right here. So it's all continuous rail. Now, in this case, it wouldn't be that big a deal because it's easy enough to get a piece of flex track that long and cut it and put it in. I just did it so it's all continuous for electrical connectivity, I guess, just because I could. Certainly not a huge deal, but you certainly wouldn't want to have your turnout come out and stop here, have another turnout start here, and need a really tiny piece, which is the more important thing to look for. So that just shows it on the layout. And again, the drone will go a little bit higher here over the auto racks and other stuff. So then I get it all painted up. It should blend in there pretty nice and look pretty good. Okay, final step here. I'm just going to do a continuity check. We have a simple voltmeter here set on the continuity scale. Yours could be different. Depends what you have. This is an older one I got when I was working at a service shop. So what I do is just come along in here. Obviously this will be a short. But what I want to check is between the frog, which is, you know, there obviously, and all the associated locations. And the frog itself will be short, and then you check here. That verifies that your gaps there are cut and there's no hanging chads or anything in there. Also want to check across here, because that ensures that the gap there is in, and check across here. That ensures that that gap is in. So if you forgot them, you'll catch that, because obviously if I'm across there, I'll have continuity, so that makes sure that those gaps are there. So that's pretty much it for the frog. Then what I'll do is just kind of come down to the points, and Steve zooms in here a little bit. We'll just make sure they operate nice. These I have filed these over so they're nice and sharp against the stock rails. You can see they move really nice, and I have the gap and the hole cut for the 039 heavier music wire for the tortoise. So do that. And then that's pretty much it. Again, you will need to go through and take a sanding stick of some variety. This is just a 120 grit. Again, you have to knock off some of the, I went through and did it, but there's, again, kind of some leftover stuff from when it comes out of the quick stick fixture itself. So just dress it up a little bit with whatever you might have as a sanding block. And then, question about the frog, you can solder on the back here. You could solder a feeder for the frog. I did it on a couple, didn't really like it, only because it's enough of a hassle getting track work in and then trying to get it through with another wire hanging off it. So what we've kind of migrated to, it seems to work okay, is basically I'm going to solder it in probably on this tie, because right here I'll solder, and I'll show you real quick, depending on if it's going to sit this way, and you know, most viewers will be looking this way, I'll solder it on this side. If you're going to be viewing it from this side, I'll solder it on this side. And then what I use is just some number 24 solid wire. And then once it's on the layout, I'll actually drill a hole here down through, if that's where I'm going to do it, obviously. And then bring the wire up. And it's small enough that once you get it in there, I'm not sure how well this will show up in the video, but then you get it in there, you get it up there, tucked in there nice. And you get it, come in there real quick and get some solder on it, and it's fine. Once it gets painted, I don't think you're even going to be able to notice it, especially if, you know, you're going like that and you're going to be viewing it roughly from that angle. You're not even going to see that. And if I was going to view it from the other side, I'd just bring it through and solder it in here. And you got to be quick, because if you heat it up, again, this is a solder joint. I did one out here and kind of lingered with the soldering iron a little bit too long, and this got wet, and so this moved. And it wasn't a big deal, just move it over and hold it in place and you know, resolder it. It was fine, but that's why I tend to go either in here or in here, because there's a little bit more of a mass of solder in there. It'll take a little bit more longer to heat all that up. But you come in quick, you get it done, and then you're good to go. So that is, this is actually number 8, number 33. So I have one more to make. So that's it, that's done. So coming up next, Steve's going to pull all this together. It's quite a bit, and maybe I'll start going through how to do a crossover, which is a little bit more involved than I haven't seen on the net. So we'll work on that for the next update. So thanks for watching, folks.